Bob Black has been the captain of his own boat since the early 70s. He's owned a number of commercial fishing boats, sometimes more than one at the same time, but currently operates a single, rather grand old vessel, the Pacific Marl. The Marl is one of the last remaining wooden-hulled vintage boats on the water, and it's a proud representation of BC's heritage fishing industry. Bob invited me on board the Pacific Marl to take a quick trip with him from his home port in Vancouver, where he ties up at the False Creek Marina, to Steveston, a fishing village down the coast where he had his seine net repaired in preparation for the upcoming salmon season. He'd been working on his net just like he does every year with 4 or 5 net repair specialists to get it ready for this season's trip to Prince Rupert. He takes his net to a marina with a huge space where it can be stretched out in panels. After a solid week of repairing nylon netting and floats, it's now time to load it back onto his boat, which is a much more complicated process than you can imagine considering the net weighs 5 tons dry and is 1,800 feet long. Bob invited me along for the ride, and during the trip I had an opportunity to talk with him about his life and of wild BC salmon.
When you fish salmon, do you use different styles of net for?
Well, the only way different styles would be different areas. The west coast of Vancouver Island, you're allowed a bigger net and a deeper one, and you can also use a power skiff to tow the end of it. Then that's one net you have, and then the straits and other areas. You're allowed 570, what we call a 575, 5 strips deep, whereas in San Juan it's 8 strips deep. In the north, because it's a lot of shallow water, you use a 3-strip net. I used to have a net for all 3 of them and all 3 of those areas, but right now I just have the one net that I use, because I don't fish the San Juan in the south area. Because there's a lot of maintenance, and even if you don't use it, it deteriorates because of weather. You have a tarp or something to put over it, but the tarp gets blown off or something, and you get mice that might go in and have a little feed.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, I usually put salt on it, spring salt on it when you put it away.
Okay.
That'll keep the mice away.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make a big mess when they do that, because the way the web is piled on there and they eat a hole through it, it's not like it's just on the corner of a blanket or anything. It's through multi-panels.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's quite a mess.
Yeah. How long have you had that now?
Well, I guess it's close to 20 years, that maybe even longer, because I've changed the cork line, I've changed the lead line, which are the 2 main lines, and I've changed the border and the cork line border and the body web. So you're always changing and upgrading. I don't know if there's anything left of the original. You have to change, even if you don't use it that much, because on the lead line then it drags the bottom, and the lashings that are on there, the nylon lashings, they wear, rubbing on the bottom.
Oh, okay. So the lead is along the bottom of the
net? It's heavy, and
it
can be 10 to 18 to 20 pounds a fathom. And the heavier you are, the deeper, it'll go down deeper and hold the fish better in the tide.
Okay.
Because if you're in the tide and you got a light net, the lead line comes up.
Yeah.
And so you don't have as big an area for the fish to swim into.
So does that net close at the bottom when you're pulling it in? Does it?
Yeah. What we do is once we complete the circle, bring the boat back into back to the net after towing off it from the beach. we start drumming it onto the drum, and at the same time we have what we call a purse line, and it runs tight through rings on the bottom of the net. It's like an upside down marble bag.
Okay.
And you pull on it, and when the net's about halfway in, the rest of the net is being what we call pursed up, and the rings are on the side of the boat. So you got half the net on the drum and half the net in the water, and then we use a hairpin, and we shove it through those rings that are available there, and we lift it out. And then once we get it tightened up a bit more like that, we use a big brailer and dip the net out, dip the fish out, and put them into our sorter box. And then the crew goes around and releases the fish that we can't keep.
Yeah.
You pick them up and then just drop them overboard, back into the water. And then the fish that we do keep, we drop down into the hatch.
Yeah.
And then we start all over again.
How long have you been fishing like this?
40 years, I guess.
40 years.
Once the fishing is finished for the week, we'll what we call backhaul it, take it off the drum, and then pile it back on the stern.
Oh, okay.
And at the same time, we'll look for holes or rips or whatever, and repair it. We'll pile it on top of the hatch, and then after then we'll put it on the stern, get it ready.
So when you'll do this while you're out on the ocean?
No, we usually do that after we deliver.
Okay. So you're relying on your crew to help you?
Well, the crew has to do, they have to do it all that, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the skills you look for?
Well, yeah, net mending and net repairs. That's one of the skills.
Yeah.
Navigation. A bit of everything. Being aware and anticipating, I guess, is the best crewman. You don't have to say anything to them.
Right.
They can see something happening. They ahead of time, and so they just walk over and pick up the line and tighten it up or whatever.
So experience is more
Oh,
important than strength.
Experience is the best.
Yeah. Is it hard to find experienced fishers?
It has been because fishing's been slow, and then the guys will get jobs working in construction and other jobs, and although they really would like to get out fishing for a couple of months, it's pretty hard for them to quit that job and then
Right.
expect to get it in September. So guys have been not going out for quite a few years because they don't want to lose their day job type of thing. And but it seems that with we've had a couple of good years in the last little while, and more people have basically come out of the woodwork and want to come out and try fishing again. There is an anticipation of a couple of good years, and they want to be part of it.
Yeah.
If they got good skills outside, like in construction, with all the construction that's going around Vancouver, they're pretty well assured that they can get another job, unless they want to stick with a particular company. It's just like any trade. If you're a mechanic, you can go from one city to the next and get another mechanic's job.
Yeah. So Bob, tell me, where are we?
Steveston, a little area there on the Fraser River where we have a net loft that I store my net, and they have a big, they have a fork truck big enough to handle it. It's 3 to 5 ton, depending on what net it is, on great big pallets. And they also have a net shed where it's got the area, because when we repair the net, we do it in 10 fathom stretches, so that's 60 feet. And so you need room on each end of the net of the building to pile the net, plus the 60 feet. And then that's where we measure it. We measure every 60 feet and take the percentage and then mark it with tags. And when we finish that, then we'll pull another stretch, what we call a stretch, which is another 10 fathom, and hang it up on hooks and measure it all
How
out.
total is your net? That we saw worked on today, how long is it total?
They go up to 1,800 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then up to 120 feet deep, depending on inside nets are shallower.
You mean inside passage?
Well, in what I mean inside nets, Prince Rupert nets, or if you're fishing close to, they have river openings, or there you need a shallower net because it'll roll up on the bottom if you use a net that's deeper than what you're fishing in. So if you got a net that's going down 20 fathoms, say, and you're fishing in 5 fathoms of water, you're going to have a big mess.
Yeah.
Because it's going to drag in the bottom. You can get away with it a little bit, but tide will play havoc with it. You'll be doing a lot of roll-ups where the bottom of the net rolls up.
Tell us a little bit about your boat. You've had this boat for...
I bought it in 1975,
Yeah.
and put a
How
new.
long is
It's 72 feet. Yeah, and it's an oldie. It's built in 1927, but not much of the boat is left from 27. I've put a new cabin on, new deck on, new bulwarks, a new engine, put new ribs in it, re-nailed it, new planks. So there's still, I guess, the main bow stem and keel's all the same, but
Yeah.
all the beams have been changed. But that's over a period since I bought it in 1975 till now. I didn't do it all at once. I did it a little bit at a time.
Yeah, over the years.
Yeah.
This is really as close to a vintage heritage fishing operation as you can get.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if there's any right now that are older than this boat right now. Some are around the 30s. There's a few boats around the 30s, but some of the other ones they've retired or not around anymore.
And this is a wooden boat.
It's a wooden hull, but I've got aluminum house and aluminum bulwarks.
Oh, yeah. So there's regular maintenance to a boat too.
Oh, every year you got to take it out and have it hauled out of the water, get new zincs put on it so you don't get the latralsis that eats up the nails and the metal on it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to have copper paint to stop the worms from eating the wood.
And you're going to run up next week. You're running up to
Prince Rupert.
Prince Rupert.
Yeah.
Fishing grounds up there. So that's a good haul. That's, did you say 50 hours?
It's 60 to 65 hours depending on how fast you travel and how you hit the tides.
Yeah.
We used to do it deadheaded, day and night to get up there, and but I haven't done that for I don't know, maybe 5-10 years. What I've been doing is leaving a little early and just staying at different ports each night. Putting 10-12 hours a day in it and stopping at a port, visiting and carrying on, making a little leisurely trip out of it,
Yeah.
rather than running at night and bumping logs. Do enough of that in the fishing season.
Now, is that like the Nass River run? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then-
That's like Nass River sockeye is some of the best sockeye in the world, right?
Yeah, that and Skeena's got a good name
yeah.
for it. It's pretty bright red, and it's a nice looking fish. A little on the blue side. It just looks like a nice fish.
Is it because of the length of the river and
That and how cold it is where they are. It's a lot of things. You can people that have been in the industry for a long time and fished certain rivers can pretty well tell by the size of the fish and the coloring what river it come from, because some of them are a little bigger, some are skinnier, some are fatter, some got a little bit of different tinge to them. And then of course the fish always come back at about the same time every year. Like one run might come first or second week of July, another one might come at the end of July or the end of June or August. So when you see different fish come into it, you can say, well, that river's pretty well finished. Now we're seeing fish from another river. They kind of blend together.
Oh, okay.
I got I only fish the north. I don't have a south license because years ago the fisheries split the coast up. We used to fish the whole coast, and they just said that you got to pick one area or the other, either north or south. And I picked the north, and I could fish the south if I wanted to spend the money to buy another license, but.
Why did you pick the north?
There was a lot of controversy at the time when they were doing it, where the Americans weren't going to allow us to fish San Juan. They wanted us to fish not what we call the blue line, further back, and because they figured we were picking up some of their fish, and some of the openings were being cut back, and that's where I fished. I fished most of my time in San Juan, and I just didn't want it. And I knew up north that you get the fishing time. You wouldn't get a lot of sockeye, but you get pinks and chum, but at least you were out fishing. And so that's why I did, and it actually turned out that way because there was very little fishing in the south for quite a few years, where we were getting 26, 27 days, and they were maybe getting 1 or 2, maybe 3 days in a year. That's not much. You can't make a living out of that unless you're awful lucky.
Are you happy that you picked the north?
Up to this point, but there's every once in a while there's a huge run that comes in the Fraser.
Yeah.
And I'd like, you kind of like to be part of that.
Yeah.
But a person can sometimes rent a license from somebody. Yeah, well, each area has, like the north has quite a few areas where runs come in. The Central, you got Wales, you got the Charlottes, you got the Skeena, the Nass. And that's the other reason that I went up there, is because the south area, Johnson Straits, really only have one river, and that's the Fraser.
Yeah.
Whereas in the north, we've got the central area, which has a river system. And then you got the Wales Channel, which has a river system. And then you got the Skeena and the Nass River. And then you got the Charlottes. So that you got all these choices, where here you only got, one area, which is Johnson Straits, and the Fraser River. All that fish is going the same place.
Yeah.
And because there's so many people around, everybody wants a piece of it.
Yeah.
The Americans want so much of it, they're negotiating so much of it, and it's just too much controversy.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get out of it.
Do you have family up there too?
Not in the north, no. Well, other than, I guess I do part way up, yeah. Consider them, you see them every year, so after a while you consider them family.
Yeah.
You go into some of the ports and people get to know the boat, and you come and tie up, and all of a sudden you got all kinds of people that you want to say hi to and talk to. How was your winter and whatever. It's like old home week when you're traveling up. You visit people.
Yeah, and I guess your crew becomes a bit of a family too when you're on a boat with somebody for 3 months or 4 months.
Yeah, you get to know them pretty good, and you see them in the winter months, and
the same people come back.
Usually off and on they'll come for a few years and then move off on, maybe get a job in the winter, so they don't come back the next time, and then after a few years you'll be able to hire them again. So it's not a lot of experienced guys now,
Right.
because there's not the boats out there that need the crews. At one time there was, families grew up, so on the small coastal communities, anybody that was brought up in a small coastal community, you could pretty well hire them because they were boat wise. They were on boats right from the time they could walk.
And a lot of those fishing communities are gone now.
Well, the fishing, yeah, the communities are there, but all the young people have gone off to other things because their dads had boats before, but they sold them to the buyback to get money, and so they didn't get the experience because, you know, who's going to take them out? Another person's going to take his own son out. He's not going to take you out. So the guys end up getting jobs doing other things, and they don't get, you know, the experience of wanting to stay out fishing.